Aeroman, Skyfall, a high-stakes sci-fi epic featuring Ethan Vance, the genius billionaire behind the Aeroman exosuit, as he battles the ruthless alien warlord Overlord Zorak to save Earth from orbital annihilation. Chapter 1: The Storm Breaks. Ethan Vance stood at the edge of Vance Aerospace Tower, a 200-story high-tech skyscraper overlooking the neon-drenched skyline of New Manhattan. Rain hammered against the towering windows of his private hangar, but Ethan barely noticed. His attention was fixed on the holographic blueprints floating before him, showcasing the latest iteration of his Aeroman exosuit. Sleek, black and silver plating reinforced with nanoalloy, thruster nodes glowing with pulsating blue energy. He ran a hand through his wavy chestnut brown hair, his piercing blue eyes narrowing at the technical readouts. His trimmed beard twitched as he exhaled sharply. Something felt off tonight. "Sir," chimed Aura, his advanced AI assistant. Her voice was smooth, efficient, and just a hint sarcastic, because that's how Ethan had programmed her. "You have an incoming transmission, encrypted, level Omega clearance." Ethan's brows shot up. Level Omega? That was highest tier security, reserved for global threats. He swiped the air, decrypting the message. A hologram flickered to life, displaying Director Helena Grayson, the no-nonsense leader of SkyShield, Earth's top planetary defense agency. "Vance," she said, her short platinum hair framing her sharp, battle-worn face. "We have a situation. Skyfort 9 has gone dark." Ethan felt a cold spike of adrenaline. "Skyfort 9?" he repeated. "The orbital weapons station designed to protect Earth from extraterrestrial threats?" "The same," Grayson confirmed. "And we suspect Overlord Zorak." A silence stretched between them. Zorak. The name alone was enough to send shivers down the spines of battle-hardened generals. A warrior exile from the dying planet Varkol 5, Zorak had arrived in Earth's system 2 years ago after obliterating 3 colonies in deep space. His obsidian battle armor, fused to his very flesh, made him almost indestructible. His gravity disruptor tech could level cities. But worst of all, he was a strategic genius. "How did he even reach Skyfort 9? Ethan asked. "We don't know," Grayson admitted. "But if he's taken control, he now has access to orbital railguns, missile barrages, and energy cannons. If he turns those weapons toward Earth..." Ethan didn't need her to finish the sentence. He pivoted on his heel, stepping onto the launch pad. His exosuit's thrusters whined to life, energy humming beneath his boots. He reached up, pressed the helmet release, and the nanotech plating flowed over his face, sealing shut with a mechanical hiss. "Send me the coordinates," he said. "Already did," Grayson replied. "And Vance?" Ethan paused. "Don't die up there," she finished. Ethan smirked beneath his helmet, not planning on it. With a deafening roar, the Aeroman exosuit ignited, propelling him into the stormy night sky, streaking toward the stars. The heist in orbit. The upper atmosphere roared past Ethan as his thrusters burned at full capacity. At Mach 10, he tore through the clouds, pushing into the edge of space where Earth's curvature glowed beneath him like a sapphire jewel. Approaching Skyfort 9, Aura announced, "Sir, something is wrong." Ethan frowned. The orbital station was dark. No lights, no movement. A dead husk floating in the void. "Aura, scan for life signs." Multiple heat signatures detected, but a blaring alarm cut her off. "Warning, incoming projectiles." Ethan twisted midair just as 3 hypersonic missiles screamed toward him from the station. "Turrets? I thought Skyfort 9's defense systems were offline." "Looks like Zorak repurposed them," Aura said dryly. Ethan barrel rolled. barely dodging the first missile as it detonated in a silent fireball. The second clipped his wing, sending him spiraling. "Not today," he growled, stabilizing himself just in time to redirect the third missile with an electromagnetic pulse, sending it hurtling back toward the turrets. Boom. The explosion sent shockwaves across the station, blasting open an exposed docking bay. Ethan seized the opportunity, accelerating forward and crashing through the breach. Inside, the station was eerily silent. Emergency lights flickered, casting eerie shadows against the walls. The air smelled of ozone and burnt metal. And then, a deep, metallic voice echoed through the corridors. "You should not have come, Aeroman." Ethan turned sharply. Overlord Zorak stood at the far end of the corridor, a towering 9-foot-tall alien warlord. His obsidian exo-armor gleamed under the dim emergency lights, veins of red-hot energy pulsing beneath his flesh. His crimson eyes burned with malice, half covered by a cracked battle mask. In his massive clawed hand, he held a gravity disruptor, its unstable core glowing like a dying star. "You're too late," Zorak growled, stepping forward. His voice was like grinding stone. "The Sky Fort is mine, and in minutes, so will Earth." Ethan's eyes darted to the control panel behind Zorak, its countdown timer flashing 0092. 9 minutes? Ethan mused. "I was hoping for more time to kick your ass." Zorak bared razor-sharp teeth. "You won't leave here alive." Ethan's fingers flexed, blue energy hummed in his palms. "Let's test that theory." And then, the battle erupted. Chapter 2: Fire in the Void. The silence of space shattered as Ethan Vance lunged forward, his Aeroman exosuit burning blue with raw power. Overlord Zorak was waiting for him. The 9-foot-tall warlord swung his gravity disruptor, a jagged gauntlet pulsing with red unstable energy, aiming to crush Ethan like a tin can. Ethan barely dodged. The strike landed against the reinforced walls of Skyfort 9, and the entire orbital station trembled. Zorak was inhumanly strong, but Ethan was faster. He twisted midair, thrusters roaring, and unleashed a plasma-charged punch into Zorak's armored chest. The impact sent shockwaves rippling through the warlord's armor, but Zorak didn't flinch. Instead, he grabbed Ethan's arm mid-punch and yanked him forward, delivering a skull-rattling headbutt. Ethan was set hurtling across the corridor, crashing into a bulkhead. His HUD flickered, his systems struggling to reboot. "Damage report," he barked. Aura's voice rang in his helmet. "Multiple fractures in the left gauntlet. Thruster output reduced by 30%. You should probably run." Ethan shook his head. Not an option. As Zorak stalked forward, his massive boots denting the metal floor, the station's emergency klaxons blared. "Warning. Station collapse imminent." Ethan's eyes darted to the control panel behind Zorak. The countdown timer was at 6 minutes, 48 seconds. Less than 7 minutes until Skyfort 9's orbital weapons fired on Earth. Zorak's voice rumbled like distant thunder. "You should have stayed on your planet, Aeroman." Ethan smirked, wiping blood from his split lip. "Yeah, but then who would have stopped your ugly ass?" With a deafening roar, Zorak lunged. The battle explodes. Ethan sidestepped, activating his repulsor cannons. A concentrated energy blast slammed into Zorak's side, sending him crashing through a metal wall. But before Ethan could catch his breath, Zorak burst through the debris, moving like a raging beast. Fists met metal. Sparks erupted as Ethan and Zorak exchanged brutal blows, each punch shaking the walls. Zorak grabbed Ethan's helmeted head and slammed him through the floor, sending him into Skyfort's lower levels. Ethan's HUD flickered dangerously. His suit was taking too much damage. "Aura, give me a tactical scan." "Analyzing?" Zorak's armor has a weak point at the spinal core. A direct energy strike could disable his gravity disruptor. Ethan grinned. That's all I needed to hear. The high-speed chase. The station's support beams groaned, metal twisting under stress. The battle had weakened the station's core, and it was starting to fall apart. Explosions ripped through the corridors. Ethan blasted through the crumbling hallways, thrusters at max output, dodging falling debris and energy bursts from Zorak's gauntlet. Running won't save you, Aeroman, Zorak bellowed. Ethan spun in midair, firing twin plasma blasts, only for Zorak to dodge with inhuman reflexes. They crashed into the central command chamber, where the weapon control panel loomed, its countdown at 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Too late, Zorak growled. Earth burns. The final gambit, Ethan's mind raced. He needed to shut down the weapons. But Zorak wasn't going to let him. The Warlord charged, claws slashing. Ethan ducked, spun behind him, and delivered a high-energy plasma punch directly into Zorak's spinal core. The impact sent a ripple of energy through Zorak's armor. His gravity disruptor flickered. His movement slowed. Ethan didn't waste time. He lunged for the console, frantically bypassing security codes. 15 seconds, 10 seconds. The system rejected his override. Aura, force shutdown. Encryption too strong, sir. 5 seconds. Ethan made a choice. He ripped his own chest power core from his suit and shoved it into the console. The system short-circuited. 3 seconds. 2, 1. Weapons systems offline. The countdown froze. Ethan exhaled. He had won. But then, Zorak was back on his feet. That was a mistake, Aeroman, and he activated his self-destruct. Warning, Skyfort 9 will detonate in 60 seconds. Ethan's eyes widened. Aura, get me the hell out of here. Chapter 3, Fall of the Titan. Warning, Skyfort 9 will detonate in 60 seconds. Ethan Vance barely had time to process what was happening. The station's core trembled beneath his feet, the walls cracking as fire erupted from the control panels. Alarms blared. The floor beneath him vibrated violently, threatening to give way. Overlord Zorak stood amidst the chaos, his massive frame barely shaken, the red glow of his self-destruct sequence pulsing from his battle-worn armor. He was grinning, a predator reveling in his final moments. You stopped my weapon, Aeroman, Zorak growled, stepping forward through the smoke. But you won't stop me from taking you with me. Ethan's mind raced. His suit was already damaged, his energy core depleted after overriding the orbital cannon. He was running on emergency power. He had less than a minute to get out of here. Not a fan of dying today, big guy, Ethan muttered, flexing his fingers as his HUD flickered with critical warnings. Let's see if I can change the odds. He fired his repulsors. Nothing. His suit was out of juice. Zorak lunged. Ethan rolled to the side, barely dodging the Warlord's crushing blow as the floor beneath him shattered. The sheer force sent a shockwave through the collapsing station. 50 seconds. Ethan scrambled up, gripping the railing as he sprinted toward the nearest escape pod bay. Zorak was faster. The Warlord grabbed Ethan by the arm and swung him like a rag doll, slamming him through a steel bulkhead. Pain shot through Ethan's ribs as he crashed into the burning debris. His vision blurred, blood dripping from a fresh wound on his forehead. Zorak stepped through the smoke, his armor glowing with unstable energy. There is no running, Aeroman. No escape. No victory. Ethan coughed, spitting blood, but he still managed to smirk. Yeah, tell that to my backup plan. Zorak hesitated, and that was all Ethan needed. The last flight, Ethan's right arm shot out. He activated the emergency signal in his wrist communicator. Aura, emergency override, Activate Skyfort 9's docking bay release. Aura's voice crackled through his helmet. Sir, that will destabilize the entire station. Just do it. A mechanical beep echoed as the station's docking locks disengaged. With a deafening screech, the entire escape pod bay broke off from the rest of the station, beginning a rapid freefall toward Earth. Zorak's eyes widened as the floor beneath them gave way. The two warriors tumbled through the collapsing wreckage, the cold vacuum of space waiting just outside the ruptured walls. Ethan gritted his teeth. His suit was failing. His thrusters were dead. But he refused to die here. He twisted midair, grabbing onto a falling metal panel. His fingers locked onto the jagged edge just as Zorak crashed below him, the Warlord struggling against the increasing pull of Earth's gravity. The escape pod bay was now hurtling toward the planet at terminal velocity. Zorak roared, his gravity disruptor flickering as he tried to stabilize himself. You damned fool! You'll burn up in the atmosphere. Ethan wiped the blood from his face. Maybe, but at least I'm not alone. With a powerful kick, he launched himself directly at Zorak. The Warlord barely had time to react as Ethan tackled him mid-fall, locking his arms around the alien's thick neck. They plummeted through the debris, spiraling toward the Earth at hypersonic speed. Flames began licking at the edges of the wreckage as they breached the atmosphere. Ethan's suit screamed with overheating alerts. The heat shields were failing. He had seconds to act. Enter the stratosphere. Ethan fought against the sheer force of gravity, shifting his weight as they tumbled through the burning remains of Skyfort 9. He saw it. A lone escape pod, still intact, falling through the wreckage. That's my ride. Ethan grunted. Using the last reserves of his suit's strength, he activated his magnetic gauntlet, pulling himself toward the escape pod's surface. But Zorak wasn't finished. With a furious snarl, the Warlord grabbed Ethan's leg and yanked, pulling them both further down toward the rapidly approaching ground. You die with me, Zorak roared. Ethan felt the heat burning against his armor, his systems seconds away from shutting down. His only chance was to make a move now. He activated his wrist blades and sliced through Zorak's armor plating, severing the power supply to his gravity disruptor. Zorak's eyes widened. Without his stabilizers, the Warlord spun out of control, tumbling helplessly into the burning debris. Ethan didn't look back. He launched himself toward the escape pod, his gauntlet magnetizing to its surface just as the emergency hatch opened. He rolled inside, slamming the door shut behind him. Aura's voice rang in his ears. Trajectory locked. Emergency landing activated. Ethan barely had time to breathe before the pod violently shook, breaking through the last layer of the atmosphere. Outside the viewport, he saw it. Zorak's flaming body plummeting like a comet crashing into the ocean with a massive explosion. The Warlord was gone. Ethan slumped against the wall, his suit steaming, his body aching. Yeah, he muttered. That was probably the worst flight of my life. Crash landing. The escape pod streaked through the sky, alarms blaring. Ethan braced himself as it hit the water hard, the force nearly knocking him unconscious. For a moment, everything was still. Then, the hatch burst open, and Ethan gasped for air, pulling himself onto the surface. Sunlight hit his face. The ocean stretched endlessly before him. He was alive. He let out a breathless laugh. I need a drink. Then he heard something. A deep rumbling beneath the waves. His stomach dropped. "Aw, hell!" he muttered. From the depths, a massive metallic hand emerged, and then Zorak rose from the ocean. His armor was different now. It pulsed with newfound energy, seawater cascading off his massive frame. "You cannot kill me, Aeroman," Zorak growled, his eyes glowing red. Ethan's smirk returned. "You sure about that?" Chapter 4. The Last Stand. The Beast Rises. Ethan Vance wiped blood from his lip, watching as Zorak emerged from the ocean like a god of war reborn. The Warlord's new armor was no longer the battle-worn exosuit he had worn on Skyfort 9. Now it pulsed with blackened alien metal, jagged and raw, powered by the very energy core Ethan had destroyed earlier. Zorak's crimson eyes locked onto him with a hunger for vengeance. "You cannot stop what has already begun, Aeroman." The Warlord growled, his voice layered with static from the raw power surging through his body. "I have embraced the void, and now I will watch you burn." The ocean around him boiled, steam rising as his body radiated impossible heat. Ethan's HUD screamed warnings, thermal radiation spiking beyond measurable levels. His suit was barely functional, his weapons were offline. His only option was to fight. He cracked his neck, rolling his shoulders. "All right, big guy," he muttered. "Let's dance." A god versus a man. Zorak launched forward like a missile, the ground beneath him exploding from the force of his leap. Ethan had milliseconds to react. He dodged left, barely escaping as the Warlord's fist obliterated the sand where he had just been standing. The impact sent shockwaves across the beach, splitting the shoreline in half. Ethan retaliated. He spun mid-air, activating his emergency repulsor blast. A blue energy burst erupted from his palm, direct hit to Zorak's chest. The Warlord staggered but didn't fall. Instead, he grinned. Pathetic. Before Ethan could react, Zorak's hand shot out like lightning, gripping him by the throat. A split second later, boom. Ethan's back shattered through a steel cargo ship, the sheer force of the throw sending him skidding across the hull like a rag doll. His lungs burned, his ribs were fractured. Zorak was stronger, faster, indestructible. But Ethan Vance wasn't just any man. He was Aeroman, and he always had a plan, the gamble of a lifetime. As Zorak marched toward him, the very ground quaking beneath his steps, Ethan reached to his belt and detached a small, glowing device. The Omega Core, his last invention, a weapon too dangerous to use. Zorak saw it and laughed. A final trick? Futile. Ethan grinned through bloody teeth. Maybe, but I'm a gambler. And then, he pressed the detonator. The Omega Core ignited, a blinding white explosion engulfing them both. The end of a warlord. The shockwave tore through the coastline, sending a column of light into the sky. The world went silent. Then, a figure emerged from the smoke. Ethan. His suit was destroyed, armor peeling away, but he was alive. He stumbled forward, coughing. And there, in the center of the crater, Zorak lay motionless. His body was burnt, armor shattered. His glowing red eyes flickered and dimmed. The Warlord was dead. Ethan exhaled sharply, collapsing to his knees. He had won. The legacy of Aeroman. Days later, Ethan stood on a skyscraper rooftop, looking over the city. His body was healing. His suit was being rebuilt, but the war was far from over. The universe was vast. More threats would come, and Ethan Vance would be ready. He smirked, lifting his newly crafted helmet. Time to fly. With a roar of thrusters, Aeroman took to the skies once more.